Hi guys, and welcome to the Unquendor Guitars workshop. My name is Daniel and this is another part in the video series where I'm building my Phoenix Guitar A, somewhat Gibson Firebird inspired guitar build, and I'm very excited for this episode because in this episode I'm going to get this guitar playable. I'm going to install all the hardware, electronics, get some strings on it and play it for the first time. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the video. So guys, I have a box with all the hardware I'm going to use right here. And of course, I'm going to install a Fishman battery pack, some Fishman Fluence Classics, and of course some Elixir strings. But first let's start with installing some hardware, and I always like to start with the bridge. And for this guitar I'm going to use this very lovely Hipshot Baby Grand bridge. And first thing I need to do is insert these threaded insert into these holes. I have this tool I made. It's just a dowel that fits inside and on the edge of the threaded insert. And I'm going to use a small hammer and try and tap it in very carefully. So here we go. And now with the two bushes nice and flat, we can insert the posts. Here we go. And now with the two posts in place, we can see if the bridge actually fits. Which it does. So the bridge fits very nice. Look at this. I'm very happy. Now let's focus on the other side. Let's see what's in the box when it comes to tuners. Lovely Charter M6 locking tuners. And installing these tuners might be a bit more complicated than usual, and that's because of two things. For one, I have this curvature in the headstock, so the tuners won't be in line, but they will be staggered, so I can't put them all in line when I'm putting them in. Also, I chose to use tuners with these two locking pins instead of a tiny screw, so it makes it a bit more easier to place them. So what I have to do is put in all the tuners first and align them the way I want them to, because I can't align the bottom of the tuners in this case. So I have to align them by eye in a way that I think is pleasing. So once I'm happy with the placement of my tuners, what I need to do is I need to press down real hard on every tuner, and this should leave a tiny dent in the lacquer where I need to drill those two tiny holes. Right there, right there. Here we go, last one. And now we have all these dents where I need to drill the holes. So let me take out a small drill bit and my awl and drill these holes. we go. Last one. And they're in. So, and now that all the tuners are in, I can use these bushes on the other side to fix them in place. Here we go. And I'm using one of those, yeah, we call them pipe wrenches. I don't know how you call them in English. To tighten the tuners in place. Here we go. So now that we're at the headstock, I'm going to take a look at the nut as well. And I'm using a Graphtec Tusk XL black nut like I do on all my guitars. I really like these Graphtec nuts, how they sound, how they play, how they help with tuning stability and such. So these are the nuts for me. And first thing I'm going to do is check how it sits against the fretboard and on the bottom of the fret slot, or the nut slot actually. And from here I'm going to adjust the nut itself first. So I can already tell I need to address the face of the nut a tiny bit, and I don't know if it shows up on camera, but you can see from the manufacturing process the nut isn't that flat at the front face, so I'm going to address that with my leveling beam, and same goes for the bottom of the nut. And while I'm sanding away the bottom with these nuts, I found it easier to remove most of the material from the bottom of the nut to set the action at the first fret. So as an indicator, I'm going to use this very high precision straight edge. I can set it in the nut slot, and I'm going to look at the spacing between the first fret and this straight edge while it's resting on the third fret. And I'm looking for a very tiny gap between the straight edge and the first fret, while the back of the straight edge is resting on the third fret. And this gives me a very good indication of the string height, like so. So I've set up my leveling beam away from the main workbench in a little vise, and first I'm going to address the front of the nut by very carefully rubbing it back and forth on the leveling beam until it's fairly flat, and then I'm going to do the same with the bottom. And then I'm going to check the string height at the guitar itself. So I think I'm done. It took me a bit longer than expected, but it sits in the fret slot perfect. And let's see. Yeah, just the tiniest gap in between the fret and the straight edge. So that's going to be perfect. Nice. Next step, I think, put on 2 strings. I almost forgot, of course, before I can put on some strings, I first need to polish all those lovely frets one last time. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces of masking tape, mark the frets, or mask the fretboard rather. Take out the Dremel with a brand new polishing disc and some green high shine, high gloss polishing compound, and start polishing these frets. That's the last fret polish. So all 24 frets are now once again nice and shiny. So get rid of the masking tape, get rid of this. Put the Dremel aside because there's one last thing again to do. And that's of course applying some fretboard conditioner. Again, there's no strings on the fretboard yet, so this is a perfect time to apply some conditioner. Oh, that's a bit much. Some conditioner on the fretboard, paper towel, and just massage it into the fretboard. And guys, I get this asked often if you should use hard wax oil or any other type of oil on a fretboard, and I always recommend using a formula that's suitable for fretboards. I don't recommend using any waxy products, so no hard wax oil, no wax on your fretboard, because the wax will wear off when playing the guitar and it will get into the strings, making them last not as long. So I always recommend use a dedicated fretboard oil. I'm going to let this soak in for a moment, and then I'm going to take a clean towel and wipe everything off. So it's been a few minutes after I applied the oil to the fretboard, and now that I've let it soak in for a moment and there are no obvious dry spots, I can take a clean bit of paper and start rubbing out the excess. And I'm really putting some effort in fretboard so I can polish it at the same time. You can see I'm removing some dirt from the fretboard and of course some leftover compound on the frets. So after each couple of frets I'm going to use a clean piece of the paper towel and continue wiping off any remaining oil. So let's see, all the frets are polished, fretboard has a lovely new coat of oil and is also shiny and nicely polished. Yeah, I think I can put on the first two strings. That's something I always like to do, to align everything, to align the nut and later on the pickups, is by using two strings. So first, low E string. Feed it through the bridge. and into the locking tuner. Pull it tight and lock it off. Everything seems to align rather nice. So the E string, high E, feed it through the bridge, and into the locking tuner. Pull it tight and tighten the lock nut underneath. And now with the two strings on and a tiny bit of tension on those two strings, I can do the final adjustments to the nut if necessary. So I'm going to push down on the 3rd fret right here and see how much play I have between the fret, 1st fret, and the string. And it's just a tiny bit high. So I'm going to remove those two strings, go back to the sanding beam and do a final adjustment to the bottom of the nut before I glue it in place. So guys, I have my nut sanded to the final height. And now with these strings on, I have only about half a mil, so half a millimeter of action above the 1st fret. So that's absolutely perfect, nice and low. So now I can put 2 tiny drops of super glue on the bottom of the nut. And I'm going to use some thicker CA glue. That's slower setting, so I have some time to adjust it. And like I said guys, just the tiniest amount. All these 2 drops of CA glue need to do is keep it in place so it won't slide from left to right in the slot. Slot. It's a difficult word to say for me. So make sure it's seated nicely so the edges are nice and flush with the neck. And these strings will act as my clamp. Like so, and now let it dry for just a couple of seconds. So guys, with the 2 strings on and the nut glued in place, it's time for some fun stuff. And that's of course doing all the electronic. At least for me it's fun. Installing the pickups and the battery pack and all the controls and such. So yeah, let's get to it. And I'm going to start with installing the 3-way switch. I have it right here, a nice 3-way switch, and I'm going to have to run a cable from this cavity all the way through the guitar into the main control cavity before I can install the pickup. So let's start with wiring the 3-way switch. Let's get it out of the packaging and let's go. So guys, and while my soldering iron is heating up, I'm going to run this cable. It's a 4-core cable, it's a shielded cable. I'm going to run it through the cavities. So from one pickup cavity into the next. And right here into the cavity where the 3-way switch is going to go. And if I'm lucky, I can pick it up right here. So it's right here. And I'm also going to run the cable into the main cavity. It should be here right now. Yeah, here it is. Give it some extra length for now. Flip over the guitar. and we should have the cable for our three-way switch right here. And this is not going to be an entire tutorial on how to wire a guitar. I already have several tutorials on my channel, so go ahead and check them out. So I'm going to just show you the basics real quick, and then I'm going to wire the entire guitar. Most important when starting to solder is pre-tin your wires. So a bit of tin on the soldering iron, also very important. Make sure it's nice and clean and very hot. And pre-tin the wires. I'm going to start with the ground wire, and this is usually a bit a tricky one. Be very aware where those offcuts go from your solder. They can easily cut into your freshly painted guitar. So I'm going to push the wire into this hole, and hopefully the camera will work with me when focusing. Again, clean soldering tip. Put a bit of solder on that tip. And heat this part as quickly as you can. Like so. Yeah, and the camera won't focus on the solder joint, but you can see, hopefully, it's soldered to the switch. So let's do the white wire. I've routed it to the external lock right here. That's one of the inputs. And here we are. And I'm sorry guys, this camera isn't as good in close-ups as my previous camera. Hopefully it will focus on my finger. So you can see the solder joint right there. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the other three wires. Go. Yeah, the three-way switch is in. Time to start working on the pickups. And like I said, I'm going to use the Fishman Fluence Classics. And I decided to mount the pickups in these lovely Framus pickup rings. They're slanted, so the pickup will be mounted in the same plane, so to say, as the strings, because the strings are at an angle because of the break angle on the neck. So the pickup will be nice and parallel to the strings, and I had these pickup rings laying around and I really like the look of them. Nice and shiny and chrome. So next thing to do is of course mount the two pickups in the pickup rings using the provided screws and springs. So now let's install the pickups, and to help me place the pickups I temporarily removed the bridge and the strings. So I can run the cables and the wires through the first hole and insert the first pickup. Run everything into the main cavity. Oh, there they are. Like so. And let's also insert the bridge pickup. go. Where are those wires? Here they are. All right, they fit rather nice. So I can take my bridge back, put it back in place so I can align the pickups with the two strings and make sure the pole pieces are nicely situated underneath the strings. So now with the pickups aligned with the strings, I'm going to take my awl and mark where the holes need to go. After having marked the position of the pickup rings, I'm going to take my drill bit and a tiny drill and drill those holes. And I always like to do the two opposite corners first and then drill the other two holes. Just as a precaution, it doesn't shift on me when drilling one of these holes. Here we are. Last one, guys. And then the last pickup is in, and it's really starting to look like a guitar right now. Two pickups, a lot of chrome and a lot of wires sticking out of the back of this guitar, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take all these pots and I'm going to create the wire harnesses to go into this guitar. So for a moment I'm going to put the guitar aside right here, so I can free up the bench and start wiring these pots. And then that's because I don't want to do all that soldering inside the guitar or near my guitar. So yeah, let me set things up and I'll be right back with you guys to create the wire harnesses. So I'm going to follow this wiring diagram by Fishman. It's in the booklet that's supplied with the pickups. And first thing I'm going to do is prepare these push-pull pots. Here we go. Heat up the lug. And as soon as it flows, it's done. Add some new tin or soldering stuff. Heat the lug until you see it flow. And then you're done. Same for the other one. New tin. Heat everything until you see it flow. And you're done. So the pot is prepared to go into the guitar. So guys, here's the cavity, and before we can put in these pots, of course we're going to need to insert the battery pack in the little cavity we made in one of the first episodes. So here we go. Nice and hidden in that hidden compartment underneath the top of the guitar. Now let's insert all the pots. Right here, our volume and tone pot for the neck pickup, and same for the bridge pickup right here. go in here. The other way around. Fits in here. And we can close off the cavity. Yeah guys, I almost forgot to do something very important, and that's of course put my signature on the inside of the cover plate. And of course the date. Phoenix Rising. 2024. And here we are. Let's close up the control cavity. Just like so. Screwdriver and a couple of tiny screws. And let's close this up, because hopefully everything works, but we can only check all the electronics once the entire guitar is strung up. And I think I have to charge the battery first. So guys, the back of the guitar is closed. Let's return to the front. And I'm going to make sure my towel is nice and clean before we can clean the pickups, pickup rings, get rid of all the finger marks on the guitar and add some more strings. So guys, the guitar is once again somewhat presentable. I've wiped all the fingers from the guitar body and made sure the pickups are nice and clean, because at this stage I can easily clean them before we're going to put some more strings on. Let's see, number 36. We're nearing the end, guys. Now, well guys, all the strings are on, and let's see if we can tune her up for the very first time. Usually there's enough juice in one of those battery packs that I can at least tune the guitar, and even without the battery the pickups will give a signal. Let's see if I can get a signal at all. Yeah, there is a signal. So guys, let's tune her up. First chords, guys. Not too bad without even a setup. No bass. Yeah, let's stretch the strings. And I think do a setup. All right. So, I've stretched all the strings and retuned the guitar, so the guitar is now ready for setup, and I have a sneaking suspicion I don't have to do much. First, of course, I'm going to check, now with the neck under tension, if I need to adjust the truss rod, but usually not. So using a notched straight edge, yeah, maybe it could benefit from a tiny bit of adjustment. Oh. That's it. I only had to release a tiny bit of tension from the truss rod. So, truss rod is set. There's a nice tiny bit of relief in the neck. It's not that straight. I always set a tiny bit of relief in my necks. Of course, I have to retune the guitar. So the guitar is tuned. Now let's set the action, but I don't think I need to do anything. Yeah, I need to do something. There's a tiny bit of buzz. But the action is extremely low, guys. It's not even a millimeter. So guys, and to set the action, I'm going to use one of these gauges, string height gauges. Yeah, currently the action is only point. Is this correct? Yeah, about 0.3 of a millimeter, so I have to raise the action quite a bit. And that's fairly easy with a bridge like this. I can adjust these posts. They're now all the way down. And I can just very carefully raise them ever so slightly. Make sure you've loosened these two top nuts. Let's see, I'm going to set the action to 0.75 of a millimeter. That's extremely low. But I'm happy I can set such a low action. It's, especially with a bridge like this, it's much easier to raise the action than if you have to lower it. So I'm going to tighten these two lock nuts down. measure the action and see if the buzz is gone. Just a tiny bit of buzz, but the guitar is laying down, so I'm going to raise the bass side a tiny bit more. I'm going to set the bass side to 1 mil, like so. Action set, and it's real low and there's no mud buzz even when the guitar is laying down. Intonation next, so fingers crossed I've put my bridge in the correct position. So guys, and to properly intonate the guitar, of course we start again by making sure it's tuned to absolute perfection. Oh, that's the E. Great, and now I'm going to fret on the 12th and see how it is. What is happening, guys? It's tuned, intonated perfectly, so both on the open E string and on the 12th fret I got a perfect E, so it's intonated on the 12th fret. Let's do the A string. It's tuned. No way. No way, that's not possible. Tuned. In tune. It's in tune. Don't tell me the D string is also in tune. That I always set my bridges just by eye. I think, well, this looks great. D string is in tune. Oh, I'm off. The D string is a bit flat, so that means I have to shorten this string. Currently it's too long, that's why it's flat. So I have to shorten the string by moving the saddle forward. So I'm going to move it forward just a bit. Retune the string. It's in tune. And the fretted 12th is also in tune, so properly intonated. Let's see what's happening right here. G string, always a bit of a problem. No way. No way. You could if you had to, but it's a tiny bit sharp. The slightest amount, because as soon as I release some pressure from the fret, it's in tune. So you could get away with it, but it's better to intonate it. Too much. I have to move the saddle back ever so slightly. So something like this, half a turn approximately. In tune. B string, same, in tune, wrong fret. I really can't believe this is happening, guys. That from all the strings on a brand new guitar, I only have to intonate half maybe. No way. This is impossible. No way. I promise you guys, I wish I had witnesses. I didn't intonate this guitar beforehand. I just set the saddles by eye. And I only had to do minor adjustments. I haven't run into any trouble with reaching the end, the adjustment end. The action is set incredibly low, approximately a mil. It stays in tune. And wow, even acoustic, guys. Hopefully my mic is picking it up. I can't wait to plug it in, guys. But we'll have to wait. We have to be patient. Patience, because there are still some things to do. We have to install some knobs and of course the strap locks, and then we can call this guitar done and go plug it in and check all the electronics. So let me find the knobs and let's finish this guitar real quick. Yeah guys, and a finishing touch, of course, some lovely knobs from Charlotte. And of course S-lock strap buttons. Yeah guys, we're in the Unquendor showroom and I thought this would be a great place to showcase the guitar and what she can do. So after that little intro, let's switch to some clean tones real quick. And I'm using a Boss Katana with everything set to 12. And that's so you guys can have a good idea of what comes from the guitar and what comes from the amplifier. We're currently in the neck position with the first voicing and what a lovely sound. Yeah, that's the neck pickup. First voicing, of course, we have a single coil. And lovely single coil sound. And of course we have the third voicing. And it makes the sound a bit warmer overall. So first voicing and second. And of course the bridge pickup. Yeah, just like a neck pickup should sound. Of course a single coil mode for this also. And the third voicing is a hot wound PAF sound. Just a bit more output in comparison to the regular voicing. Back to third voicing. So yeah, those are some clean tones, and of course we also have a middle position. With again all three voicings. Let's add some crunch to the sound. And you get the sound I used in the intro. And more heavy, of course, a lead tone. Yeah. And of course, overwound, it has a bit more output. I think all these different settings with the 3 different voicings, of course the 3-way switch, make this a very versatile guitar, especially also thanks to the Fishman Fluence classics. You really get nice classic rock tones. I love it. I could play forever, but I think this has been a good impression of what this guitar can do. I haven't played in a while, so I think I'm going to enjoy this guitar a bit further, and I'll see you guys back in the shop. I love it. Yeah, wow guys, what an amazing guitar. I couldn't be more happy with the end result. It looks absolutely stunning. I can't even describe how it plays, how it feels, and we all just heard how it sounds, and it's absolutely amazing. It's even better in real life, I'm sure, than it is on a video. And I also want to thank you guys for your support during building this guitar. It really lived up to its name, the Phoenix. Both building this guitar and your support during my ups and especially my downs was amazing, and I appreciate it very much. And without you guys, I think this guitar wouldn't have seen the light of day. So thank you all very much for your support during this very personal guitar build. If you happen to like this guitar so much and you want to share in the Unquendor Guitars story and own a very personal guitar built by me, this guitar will go up for sale. I need to sell it because I rather have it being played by someone who really appreciated this guitar instead of it hanging on my wall not being played. And to be honest, I can also use the support from selling this guitar to maintain Unquendor Guitars and keep building guitars also here on YouTube. So if you're interested in getting yourself this guitar to own this piece of Unquendor Guitars history, let me know by dropping me an email or give me a call, and I will leave at least my email address in the video description down below. So if you're interested, yeah, get in touch and we'll sort things out. If you're also interested in being part of Unquendor Guitars and supporting me, Unquendor Guitars and this YouTube channel, you can also do so by getting yourself a t-shirt, a coffee mug or a hoodie from the Unquendor store underneath this video. And especially these Phoenix t-shirts and hoodies will only be available as long as I'm working on this guitar. I've always said it, these were limited editions, and I decided to take these from the shop 1st of January, so they're only available for just a couple of weeks, and yeah, just in time for the holidays you can get yourself or your loved ones one of those Phoenix Rising Unquendor Guitars hoodies or t-shirts, and I really appreciate that support. And if you already own one of my t-shirts or you're currently not able to get yourself a nice t-shirt, you can also support me, of course, by just taking 2 seconds of your time and leave a like and leave a comment, question or suggestion in the comment section down below. This really helps the channel tremendously. And yeah, if you're down there and you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and set that little notification bell to notify all, so you get notified when I upload a new video or go live with a live stream. Yeah, guys, that's said. Again, thank you all very much for your support. Yeah, I'm going to look at a while at this guitar, and I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, as always, take care and bye bye.